A new study revealing President Obama has issued nearly $750 billion worth of regulations since 2009, and now the Chamber of Commerce is taking action. Joining us from D.C. is the Executive Vice President for Government Affairs at the Chamber of Commerce, Bruce Josten. Bruce, what exactly are you guys doing now? It feels like it's a little late, but what are you trying to do now?
Well, we've been pushing back on Obama administration regulations for years, and we've won a couple of victories in court along the way. At the start of this year, the chief of staff to the president said that they were going to be audacious, to use his term, in pushing regulations out the door, and they have been. This one deals with what's called Section 7874, and it's a real example of an administration being far more than audacious. This was capricious and it was punitive in nature. Basically, what it did was singularly stop the merger of Pfizer and Allergan Pharmaceuticals. Now, the issue here is interesting. The Congress of the United States had previously set a threshold through which a merger would be considered an inversion. This one came beneath that threshold. Treasury didn't like it. They didn't abide by the threshold. And without even providing a comment period, which is required also by federal law, the Treasury unilaterally just changed the rules of the game, looked back 3 years at other mergers that had taken place between one of the two companies, and acted as though 3 years ago somebody had pre-planned all this. So it is totally off the charts. We think it's an illegal, an abuse of regulatory power, and we're challenging them in court.
Bruce, the topic of inversions is one that doesn't have a lot of popular appeal on Main Street. Most Americans feel like it's another attempt to take jobs out of this country to foreign countries and for corporate greed to manifest itself. So while I get where you're coming from, how do you explain to the American people that this is something that helps them?
Well, here's what the American people need to understand, and I think the administration has been more than clever in how they've approached this by calling the American companies unpatriotic, for example. So let's be specific. The rest of the world and the OECD countries, the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, for decades have been pointing out the United States is standing still while the rest of the world moves away, lowers corporate tax rates, moves away from what we cling to under this administration, an antiquated worldwide tax regime which very few countries in the world even abide by any longer. So while that's happening, U.S. companies that play on the global field of competition, international trade, are becoming increasingly tax disadvantaged and non-competitive. It creates an atmosphere actually where, for example, foreign companies have a tax advantage in taking over a U.S. company. The inversion argument is the tail wagging the dog. There's only been, Charles, about 50 corporate inversions in the past decade. Simultaneously, about 2,500 foreign takeovers of U.S. corporations in the same period. What we need to do is fundamentally reform the corporate tax code like every other industrialized country in the world has done, including Japan a year ago. We need to abandon this worldwide tax regime, which is the thing that probably is contributing to the disadvantage in the tax base more than anything else, which Japan also abandoned a year ago.
Bruce, thank you very much.
We need tax reform desperately.
There's no doubt about it. We're on the same page there. Appreciate it.